And it is Wednesday, guys. You know what that means. It's Trekyards Mission Briefing, and today we have a sponsored episode, a ship we've had on our radar for a while now, of a friend of the Trekyards family, as it were. Hi, Stuart. How you doing? And this is a Trek ship from the bigger verse, but non-canon. But it looks kind of canon, maybe. It looks kind of cool. How you doing? What are we doing today, Stuart?
I am good, and you're absolutely right. This is by one of our most frequent commenters and somebody that's been following us for a long time. It goes by the name Saquest. And this was actually a ship he designed, the Enigma class, which is very super cool. And he actually had it modeled by Tobias Richter, so a good friend of our channel as well, and an excellent model builder. So we're going to get I'm excited to see it in all its details. So let's get right into it.
And it is worth saying that SideQuest designed everything about this ship. But that's for the full episode that we've also got. They'll be releasing hopefully sometime soon. So we'll save the information. This will be our first look review, because we don't actually, I don't know if you ever have, Stuart, but actually analyse this ship from scratch and do the full episode, which is on the horizon. And as you said, model by Tobias, although like 5 or 6 years ago, and Tobias, when he actually gave us this model, and we'll show you that in a second, he was all like, well, this is quite old work for me, just so you guys know. I'm like, that's fine, Tobias, you always do good work, it's fine. But it's nice to be able to share some of that work. So if you go to the first picture, obviously beautiful, that's Tobias's rig. If you go to the next picture, that's my rig, because this is the model that we managed to convert from the Maya program into Lightwave, and I built the light rig, and yeah, so it'll be my light rig from now on. So Stuart, what is your first impression of the Enigma class?
Well, first of all, I love the name of this one, the USS Epic. This is a neat ship. I love the lines on it. I love the new kind of approach to standard Federation configuration and just basic overall shapes. It's kind of it's still recognizable as a Federation ship, but it's got that new approach that makes it something totally unique. And I really dig the design.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, as you said, unique. It's very special. I mean, I've seen this design for years, and we often see it pop up in the Trekyards forum. And I keep thinking, damn, we meant to try it. But now we've finally got it out. Don't worry, guys. Yeah, it's familiar, and yet the shapes are pushed in a direction that they weren't going. If you look at Voyager, they were going into those pointy shapes, and that's what Rick always says, pointer, sleeker, whatever. Whereas they rebalanced, I guess, into ovals for this version, so which could imply, it's the science ship of the fleet. The Prometheus and the Equinox, all those things are going towards the more militaristic arm as Dominion War happens, whereas this is going back into the sovereign, but then take away the battleship element, pulling it back into a more scientific or just epically technological route. Because I know this is a beast of a ship.
The USS Epically.
Yep, it's all deliberate, Stuart. These puns, man, these puns. But you should know. You start your episode with just an amazing.
Yes, of course. So do we know the exact time period of this thing? Is it the post Voyager?
Yes,
or?
it's quite a little bit amount further.
Okay. Okay.
It's definitely a next step.
Yeah, and it would definitely, with this design, it would definitely fit well into the Star Trek Online design aesthetic. This would be an excellent ship to see in that game. So,
although a bit too curvy for Star Trek Online.
Well,
there's a lot of unique details. But Stuart, tell me about scale, as we always go for mission briefings. And I had to double check that there's an online scale measurement apparently, but it's wrong. SideQuest told us the actual scale, so we'll have to rescale it correctly. So Stuart, what do you think? What do you think the scales of the ship based on your professional Star Trek knowledge?
I would say.
And do compare it to things of the era like the E, the D, the Voyager, things like that.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the same size as the E, maybe a little bit bigger, because if it is post Voyager, like a tad bigger.
Okay.
Can't see it being much bigger, but yeah, I'd say a little bit bigger than the E, perhaps, based on the just the overall look of it. The windows, well, what little windows you can see.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how few windows. I mean, there's so much just space. It's a very empty ship. But when we'll see some later shapes, it's actually very interesting. This view is the most boring view of it. We're really not selling it well from this one view, but it's good to unwrap the present as we go. So you say a bit bigger than Enterprise Z. Yeah, I probably said maybe about exactly the same size, or I mean, obviously because the saucer potentially looks bigger, but then the back bit is so drawn in that it's not pushing out. So the way the size is distributed is different. Very much so.
Yeah, I see the saucer being the same size as the Sovereign, but the back end with the bulkiness of those nacelles, almost, I think that's where the extra length would be, and it wouldn't be very much, like I said. So,
well, let's go to the next picture and see how close you are.
Not really close.
Well, at least we're comparing to Enterprise Z. Yeah, it's sort of an in-between step, I guess. So you can see its visual link to Voyager. Actually, in quite a few ways. I mean, that front little cutout is Voyager, but it's kind of an E-Voyager saucer combination, and then interesting back. So again, very different. The shapes that sort of going out like an E, and then across like a Voyager. I guess that's his combination. But
yeah,
what do you think?
For the sizing, I think I like it, actually. You don't always have to go bigger for every ship, especially depending on the ship's purpose. So, yeah, I think that's perfectly acceptable. Looking at it, though, compared to all these other ships with the amount of windows on most ships, except for the Defiant, I'm wondering if this is a scientific vessel or if it's more like a warship or a battleship, because it seems to be more armored than, much like the Defiant is, and steps away from that aesthetic of having windows everywhere. It's very much like, we're here and we're armored.
Like I say, this is going to be a theoretical episode. The full episode basically in production as soon as we finish filming this, so you'll get all the information later on down the line. But absolutely, I mean, again, the E is the equivalent potentially at the time, and it's night and day. This ship is, and that makes it feel different. Windows are a big staple of Trek. Is having that scale reference, is having that human element, and so you take all that away, and it feels more TOS. Even it feels more like Doug always says, like a marine life with the hull color. It feels a bit more abstract, a bit more timeless, because that could be the design, I think, especially with the different engine color, just a bit off the norm. Could be 10 years after Nemesis, could be 5 years, could be 50 years. It doesn't really give anything away specifically. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, my first guess was post Voyager, because there are a few Voyager elements to it. Yeah. But I'm sure we'll talk about those in later pictures. So,
but let's go to the side view, and it will give away one of the unique aspects. So a very, very thin ship. But Stuart, what is she missing? Sort of.
Oh, she's missing a secondary hull. Sort of.
Yeah.
I really like that profile though, like those warp nacelles. That's a great new design for a warp nacelle configuration.
And I was wondering where earth the Bassards are, but there are Bassards, and I'm sure we'll see a picture of them later on.
Yeah.
I shouldn't doubt him because he thinks these things through. Yeah, it's very, very thin and very. Again, it's like a sleeked out Prometheus, but with curves.
Yeah. And the crew there wouldn't be a lot of crew based on the volume compared to the Enterprise E there. That secondary hull, it's a huge difference. It's funny how much room and internal volume a secondary hull adds to a ship, and you don't really notice that until it's gone. Yep. But even the saucer section is very sleek and minimalist. There's nothing on the bottom really. So yeah, I think this is a more purpose-built craft. Yeah.
It's more of a defined in the sense of we're building it for this. Everything is a bit different for this reason. Although I just want to say, how lucky is it that we here at Trekyards can make a render with Voyager, Saber, Defiant, and Miranda all canon from the shows, and just be able to just throw them into a scene, light them, and boom, you've got new images of these ships in canonical. How lucky are we? Seriously, and then you guys get to enjoy it. And
so that Miranda's from the Dominion War, then I assume, yeah. Why isn't it on fire then?
we're freeze frame before the start of the scene. Everything will go.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we go to the next picture, we have some concept art, or sort of. This was a before he made it step, because boy, Psycho likes to flesh things out. So there's a full readout of the ship. What do you think?
I'm really pleasantly surprised. I mean, the attention to detail is incredible. Like, and I love that anybody that really fleshes out their designs like this.
Yep.
And you got to give them credit because it's hard work. So we got a shuttle bay of sorts at the almost at the back. Be interesting to see where that is.
And if you note, that bottom bit at the end of the secondary hull, that point is where the torpedoes are. Those long things are torpedo turrets.
They are indeed.
Not where I thought it was going to be, and there appears to be no forward torpedo launchers in the main bit. So it's a reverse Miranda torpedo pod, just really sleeked out.
Yeah. So you got a secondary deflector at the front, just like Voyager, which is cool. I love that addition. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not very spacious though. It's pretty minimalist considering.
That's why I'm wondering if it's more like a warship or, like a strike cruiser almost, sent in for a specific mission to do a certain job and not out there just cruising around for 5 years.
Yeah. But Stuart, do you see that there's one detail that's really standing out to me, and he's actually put some cool other details within that detail? Can you tell I'm looking at? In the saucer?
I would say the engineering room.
No.
Whatever that is. That big room at the back.
No.
Let me take another look then.
In the saucer, there's a grey line that goes through the ship. Which you would think could just be a Photoshop. But no, there are clamps.
Separation plane.
And he full-on put clamps to try and explain it. How cool is that?
Wow. That is cool.
That's a hint for later on. Although you're right, if that's the warp core, it's right at the top of the ship. And it's very small considering. Well, I guess the warp core's that big primary thing.
The
There's
purple
no
thing.
Room. There's no room.
Yeah, I don't know. That looks like a warp core up behind the bridge there. It looks big enough and spacious enough to be an engineering room. So that's kind of odd to me.
That's probably for the saucer separation split.
Oh, possibly, yeah. Well, how would they have warp, though? It doesn't look like they'd have any...
Well, you still need power. Maybe they just want to maximise weapons. Yeah.
Could be.
Well, Stuart, next picture was a work in progress that Tobias did. I've thrown a couple of those in. And you can see a little real sense of scale from that. I thought it was quite a fun image.
Nice.
Yeah, it's no Star Destroyer, but I still think, pretty big. This is still space, it's still whatever. It's pretty big.
Yeah. And you could have at least 3 shuttles side by side in that bay.
Very comfortably, yeah.
Yeah, and even landing at the same time I think would be acceptable. Wow. All right. Next picture is again Tobias, and this is cool. Oh, see. This, I love the shapes involved here, and there you got the saucer separation.
Yeah.
But the aggressiveness of the trifecta of points. It's not really points. The way they're rounded makes them more subtle, but I still think it looks aggressive, and I like that design. As a ship on its own, that's cool. But yeah, you add that saucer, and it just steps it up a notch to like Starfleet cool. The other one I can see being a ship from like Star Wars or something, an Imperial or like a Galactic Senate transport or something. Kind of like Air Force One.
Yeah. No, I do like that saucer shape, and the way those pieces just sort of deconnect, and then although the secondary shapes, it's very un-Trek. But
yes and no.
Yes and no, exactly. It's like, so is the just having a neck of the D. You take that out, and it's like, that's weird shapes. But it certainly says something, and that you clearly there's more function in that secondary hull. Like that feels as if the purpose of separation isn't just to save the crew. There's something else there, The amount of stuff being left behind.
Seems very agile and very purposeful, yeah.
But let's go back to sort of my renders. So the next view is an aft view, and again, I built the light rig, huzzah. In full glory. What do you think?
Very interesting perspective and view of the ship. Again, the nacelles really stick out to me. I love that look. I love the updated nacelle look. I think that's something that I could see on... I'd like to plant those on a few other ships on the fleet. Even just the Sovereign. Just swap it out for these. I think that would be really sexy. But the first thing I noticed when I saw this picture is the connection points on the struts look like they articulate. I don't know if they do, but am I wrong in assuming that those look like at least hinges?
Oh, it must do. It must do. He must obviously like the Voyager. And I'm wondering like why and how and I don't know.
Yeah, well, the Y would probably be explained the same as Voyager.
Or it changes the warp bubble to create higher velocities or something else. I mean,
It doesn't damage subspace or whatever. Yeah.
but I mean like an extra reason because they said well that was fixed by the time of every other show after that.
Yeah.
But back to those nacelles, they're actually kind of minimalist, I think. Having the strong but clean details of the back and the front, pretty minimal grills, but are punchy and big and a cleaner, more white colour. We always associate white with being advanced, just for reasons.
Yeah.
I see that as more of an armoured, but also just refined. Like, well, we don't need to have all the warp grills. We don't have all this extra stuff. We can just make simplified engines with the most minimal facades ever, which also changes the colour profile. You take away those bright reds at the front, it changes the feel of the ship. I'm sure we'll see those in later views.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm really digging that the shapes in this. StackQuest, good job, man.
Yeah, and having those 4 impulse engines looks cool.
I was going to talk about those at some point. The upper ones are very, very reminiscent of like a Bill Krause design, like in the Shangri-La. The way they've got the same kind of shape, but he's kind of angled them down a bit, and they look very natural for this design. So,
yep.
Again, excellent job.
And here's the point out, this design is like 10 years old, so
Yeah.
old designer and really put the capital in to make it done professionally. But the next view is the bottom, and now you get to see some extra things like aft red glow elements. I didn't even notice those when I was doing the
I noticed them. I noticed them on the side view for the size comparison.
When I was rendering this, I didn't even notice them. So that's pretty different.
Yeah. What are they? I don't know. Maybe when they fly backwards, bizarre collectors.
Well, I mean, Zards don't need to be front. I mean, you can. I mean, if you're think about it, it's a kind of a weak spot at the front of your ship, having these big open things. And if you're taking stellar matter, imagine if it was explosive, stellar matter, fire a torpedo in there, boom, the whole nacelle goes up. So minimal ones at the front, ones at the aft. It's less efficient. But if it's like solar panels. I mean, the more efficient the solar panel gets, the smaller you need to generate the same amount of power. So,
yeah. Yeah, the bottom of the nacelles are very unique. The front's very flat, and then the back's got this. Well, as we saw in the cutaway as well, there's like almost deuterium tanks or something in the back of the nacelles.
It's like a whole add-on of technology, like another just. Okay, now we're adding a separate piece of functionality to the engines.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the torpedo tubes at the back there on the bottom. That's just mean. Let's replace the secondary hull with just torpedo tubes. All right, let's do that. Let's go ahead.
We don't need
Plan
science
approved.
labs or arboretums or parks. We just need guns.
We don't need no stinking parks. It's a thing.
But also, secondary hull impulse engines. So it's got 6 different impulse engine drives.
Very cool.
Maneuverable.
Yeah, I would assume that's what they're for. I mean, or redundancy backups.
Yeah. And I do like those have that little slither of warp grill underneath. Just a little slither.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Next picture is from the front bottom. And one thing I noticed with the top view as well, the phaser rings on these is gold, which kind of makes them look like the next step of phaser rings. Well, if you go back to the first picture, they're very clearly gold. I like the look. I think it's cool. I mean, the gray of the phaser ring looks good as well, but the gold adds something to this design. I think it makes it pop a little bit. I don't know if it's a new technology for phaser ring or if it's just they decided to paint those gold. I don't know, but I like it.
Well, what if the caption did say, "I want gold"? I mean, it's worthless sometimes. This warp. Sometimes. I mean, we'll go close with the deflector right after this picture, but again, you can see the engines. There's an intake of some kind at the bottom, perhaps. I don't. A lot of things. They're very functional engines. Stuff's going on. Although no secondary auxiliary craft, well, I guess no tertiary craft at the bottom.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how many times are those used, really? And they're kind of superfluous.
Once.
Yeah, yeah. Not once during TNG, but in one of the movies we'll decide to use it.
And then because we use it in TNG, we can't use Voyager one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Another thing I'm noticing at this bottom view is the unique shape of the escape pods. They kind of step away from the Sovereign class shapes
That's
a little bit. It's got some rounded edges.
Huh.
And again, there's not a lot of escape pods, which speaks a lot to the crew capacity of the ship. Because the Sovereign's got them everywhere. Much bigger crew complement.
Well, yeah, if you deck your ship out with, all this functional equipment. I mean, Prometheus has barely any. Same thing. And Defiant has a couple hidden in pods that we didn't know existed. But hey, you have to launch escape pods. Where do you put them?
Yeah. So leading into the next picture, we got a close-up of the deflector array, and/or sensor, whatever. Yeah, this is kind of a new take on that aspect of a ship. Yeah, and what are these phaser rings strips in front of it? Like, are they? Because they're different color. Are they part of the deflector system or the sensor grid? Like, what are they? I'm confused.
Well, look how many extra details there are. You've got the dish. You've got a push-out bit. You've got two. Will be perfect torpedo launchers either side, but I don't think they are. Then you've got like things, those yellow components above it, and then the strips of green. I mean, so much going on here. Again, all these designs we'd hope are things, are functionals.
Yeah.
Maybe the strips of green are like augmenters. They provide some sort of extra field enhancement that can then be sent down, and the deflector takes it in and uses it and projects it or something. I mean, how in Voyager they always have, like with 872, okay, we're not going to fire a Tetron burst and a Polaron beam and all these different things. Well, maybe each one is dedicated like another emitter, like a phaser strip. It lets you activate some sort of a special effect, as it were.
Or it's going back to kind of TOS tech, where they had the lower planetary sensor dome, which pointed straight down at a planet. It could be that's what that is, tying that into the main deflector, kind of because it's right there. Or sensor, yeah.
And I do think there should be torpedo launchers in those Voyager.
Yeah, there should be. But you can see the torpedo launchers on the lower part of the secondary hull facing forward there.
Yeah. And what do you think of the deflector being such a one-piece, big, thick extrusion? I mean, normally you have a nice little dish, and in Voyager we've got a kind of enclosed, but it's very internal. Now we've got a big set of emitters, and then just one big push out. And it's multiple levels as well. What do you think?
I like this new approach to it. I like this new look. It's like I said, it's different than anything we've seen, and I'm totally in. I like it.
Yeah,
That's my
it
answer.
must be specialist. That's what I'm thinking. Like, it's not the next step or evolution of deflector, but it's kind of like a fit for purpose or highly specialized. Those sorts of things. If it doesn't feel like it'd be a natural 1, 2, 3 step from Sovereign, say.
Yeah.
That's it, guys. Tune in for the next part, which is next week.
Next week? So I have to wait a whole week for next part? Oh.
You do indeed.
But
we'll see you then.
Bye. See you. Bye.